Whenever you're ready, Austin.
Okay, so basically Sgarbossa Criteria is the criteria used for diagnosing STEMI or STEMI equivalent in a left bundle branch block. So it can be a left bundle branch block or a ventricular paced rhythm. All right, so there's the old this is, I'll get to it in just a second, but this is the old Sgarbossa criteria, and then there has been a modified criteria recently that's supposed to be a little bit more specific for diagnosing occlusive MIs. All right, so this is once you've already looked at your 12 lead. You've diagnosed a left bundle branch block, or you have a ventricularly paced rhythm, idioventricular, something like that. So, if you look in your concordant leads, and that's going to be your leads to where your complex is in the same direction as your elevation or depression. So if you're looking at elevation, your concordant lead would be a positive deflection. And for this, if you have greater than 1 millimeter of elevation and a concordant lead, kind of like right here, so you see your QRS complex is up, and then you have, say this is 1 millimeter or greater of elevation right here. And this can be in any lead, one or more any leads. So up with elevation is concordant, and then so like say if you were up and you had depression, that would be discordant, obviously. Concordance together, discordance opposite. So any lead where you have greater than 1 millimeter of elevation in a concordant lead. And so this would also be concordant since you have a negative complex with depression. And then this is just for leads V1 through V3. If you have greater than 1 millimeter depression in any of these leads, V1 through V3, with a negative complex, that is positive for Sgarbossa criteria. So upward complex with 1 or more millimeters of elevation in your ST.
And that can be in any lead?
Any lead. Any lead for this one. For the elevation. And then for your depression, it's going to be leads V1 through V3. So say you look at this one right here. This is you looked in V1, you diagnose the left bundle branch block, and then you look down here at, say, this could be lead 1, this could be lead or V1, V2, or V3. You look here, you got a negative deflection and more than 1 millimeter of ST depression. That is positive Sgarbossa criteria. And then here, upward deflection, any lead, more than 1 millimeter of elevation, positive Sgarbossa criteria. You can call a STEMI on that. All right, and so the discordant leads. This is when you have, say, if you have this negative deflection right here with elevation. That's your discordant leads. So the old Sgarbossa criteria said that in discordant leads, you need greater than 5 millimeters of elevation to call it a STEMI or to call it an occlusive MI. However, the modified Sgarbossa criteria, a little bit more specific. So in a discordant lead with your downward deflection on your complex with elevation, if your elevation is greater than 25% of the depth of this complex right here, say this complex goes down 10 millimeters from the isoelectric line right here, all you would need is 2.5 millimeters of elevation to call this a STEMI. And obviously this looks about the same to me, so it's obviously going to be greater than your 25%. This is your modified Sgarbossa Criteria, and this is basically just what you would use to diagnose an occlusive MI or STEMI equivalent in the presence of a left bundle branch block or a ventricular paced rhythm.